or FID. People are like, don't you work for MTV? No, just kidding. Just want to get a sense of the room. How many people here represent people who actually make content? How many people here sell advertising? Technology companies? How many people went to the wrong conference? No, I'm just kidding. All right, we're going to start. So today, I think we have our slide up here. We're going to talk about the new rules of content creation. We hear a lot about the technologies driving our world when it comes to content, the new distribution formats, the new devices that we consume content on, but we don't hear a lot about, are there new rules? You know, should we actually create content in new and different ways because we have new platforms and we have new ways of consuming content and new ways of sharing content. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. It's a short presentation, so hopefully your lunch will have digested by the time I'm done. Let's start. So, you know, we're in a transition period. I guess I have to start myself. Doesn't work. We're in a transition period. So, as you all know, you know, the world's changing. On the way in, on the train this morning, I was actually watching the OMMA conference. I was watching Fred Wilson on my Android phone. And it seemed kind of natural to me, but I actually started to think about how crazy that would have been only just a couple of years ago. The fact that you were sitting on a train with a smart computer in your hand, connected to the internet, and actually seeing some live conversation from you know, some smart people in a room in New York City. So we really don't even understand sometimes when we work inside of this business how quickly it's changing. But clearly we're in transition. But this slide is not in transition. So we all know content's going online. 31 billion video streams per month, 200 million tweets per day, 54 billion minutes time spent on Facebook. And then if you do have a smart device, if you do have an iPad, an iPhone, there's a very good chance that you're watching television with that device in your hand. That's something very important to a company like MTV Networks in terms of the new way people are consuming content, sharing about it, and talking about the latest Snooki situation. Anybody who watches Snooki? You're all lying. You all watch it. So this comes with problems. So there's a bewildering array of options now. Everybody with a cell phone, with a Twitter account, with a Tumblr page is a broadcaster. There's so many options for users now, regardless of what topic you're interested in. If you like me and you like music, you know, if I want to find out the next song to listen to, the next artist I should pay attention to, there's just a bewildering array of options. The noise level just keeps increasing. Who do I trust? Who do I pay attention to? And we think as publishers, this is raising some questions. And then also for the audience. There's only still, as far as I know, 24 hours in a day. I think Google are working on that, but I think it's still 24 hours in a day. And there's only so much time people have to really find out what they should be paying attention to. So what does this mean for publishers? What does it mean when most of our audience looks like these two? And are probably going to get knocked down in New York City looking like that. This takes us to kind of three pillars. And again, I said I would keep this simple. You guys have had a long day. You're going to get a lot of information. But to me, there's three pillars of the evolving future of creating content for new platforms, particularly when you have to share the stage with everybody from a blog in a bedroom to a big media company like the one I work for, like Viacom. So what are those commandments? Build authority. We'll go in a little bit what we mean by that. And how do you do it? Through curation, very important piece of the puzzle, and context. And again, we'll walk through what I mean by that. So let's start with authority. Authority could well become the most valuable currency in the future of content, particularly for the app social generation, which is what I call them. So basically, these are an audience that are, we've learned a lot about them working for MTV, but they're an audience that, you know, didn't grow up with one screen as the center of attention. Really don't see a divide between digital and analog. Just kind of say, hey, you know what? Whatever screen I have is the screen I want information on. So how do you provide trusted information to that audience? And again, authority likely to become a huge currency in this oncoming world. So what is it? I think the dictionary defines it as a trusted source, a representative of information. Brands, I think, have a natural lead when it comes to having authority. But in this new world, it can be everybody from the New York Times all the way down to some trusted blogger out there. When it comes time for me to listen to new music, which happens once a week, I like Matt Pinfield. You know, I think he's a trusted resource. I go to him. If I want to find out about UK politics, BBC comes to mind as someone I will trust. If I want to get the score of the Jet game yesterday, which unfortunately you don't want that score, I would go to ESPN. So again, trusted sources, but it's not just the big guys anymore. If you look at news spaces, whether you like Perez or not, it clearly has created authority in pop culture and gossip, TMZ. So there's new opportunities for new brands and great opportunities for existing brands. Who has it, like I said? Some of those big brands, some of the newer brands, you know, but how do you get it? Which, if you don't have it, or if you had it at one point and you don't have it anymore, you know, MTV during the last couple of years has become what we think is maybe the most social TV brand out there. I think we're #1 media brand on Facebook, and it's really the same question, how did we earn that? And a lot of it comes from knowing your audience, building authenticity, so you're speaking with a passion and a truth about ideas that are important to you. What are your competitors doing? What are they doing better than you? So when it comes to building authority, really know who your audience are, use social media, probably one of the greatest advances in media over the last couple of years to build that authority. And again, how can it be proven? So let's say you go through all these steps. Will you see something at the bottom of the rainbow? And again, this is where it gets harder. But we do believe that in the new social media world that exists today, you know what? You can prove authority quickly because you have mechanisms for measurement. Retweets, likes. In 2 years' time, there'll likely be 12 verbs that we can describe how someone has engaged with your content. Here's an example. Every time we post, we've got about, with MTV proper, we have about 85 million followers on Facebook. So when we post a story, and we'll post across, you know, my group 200-300 stories a day. But every time we do, 5,000 people actively press the like button. Now, that measurement didn't exist before, and now we have a way of saying, hey, if we're putting up stuff that doesn't resonate, stuff that doesn't make sense, stuff that the people don't like, they won't press that button. I'm kind of expecting the day when the don't like button shows up. We're going to see what happens with that. But we have now mechanisms to judge how our audience are responding to everything we do. So again, a new reality. If you have authority, people will vote with their mouse. Just an example. Some of you may remember Matt Pinfield, who I talked about. So Matt's a guy who had a show with us in the late 90s called 120 Minutes. It was really the days before music blogs. So if you really liked trying to find new bands from England or something, you would turn on 120 Minutes, Matt would play the new Radioheads or the new Smiths song. Today you have blogs and you have Twitter accounts and you have so many sources, but you almost have too many. So we brought back Matt, but we didn't just bring him back and give him a television show because the world had moved on. We said, you know what, he's still an asset. He's still someone who's a trusted authority on music, has a radio show in New York. So let's bring back the TV show. So we brought back 120 Minutes. We brought back a web version called 120 Seconds. And he also writes regularly for a new website we have called mtvhive.com. So that's an example of really reevaluating your audience and where they are, using an asset that you have, and basically pushing that asset in many places to drive distribution and audience through, hopefully, a virtuous cycle, right? So if you read the blog, are you more likely to watch the web show? Are you more likely to watch the TV show? So that's an example of using something in your asset closet for authority and repurposing. Another example, the VMAs, Video Music Awards, which just launched. You know, again, we think we've built up an authority with that particular show in cultural moments. Beyonce decided that she would talk about her pregnancy for the first time at the VMAs. So she didn't pick the Grammys, she didn't pick the Oscars, she didn't pick Super Bowl weekend. She picked the VMAs, which shows that we have authority in that. Now that show became one of the highest rated shows in MTV history, period. It also was the most tweeted about show of all time, period. At one point there was almost 9,000 tweets per second, which is astonishing. And then we go back to that world of, man, how do I get my message through when there's 9,000 tweets per second? I mean, it's very hard to break through. There was 10 million VMA hashtag tweets during the course of the show. So again, not only can you build authority, but then how do you amplify that authority? Another theme is continue to look at ways you can reinvigorate, reinvent your brands to create more or new authority. And that's a key theme for the VMAs, for MTV, for all of us now, which is continually reinvent, continually look at what your audience wants, and continually move the pieces around. Again, keep your core assets, but change. So we decided a couple of years ago with the VMAs, we had a great opportunity to talk about new music, talk about new artists, not just put Lady Gaga on there, but take Florence and the Machine. You know, a band from the UK nobody really had heard of in the States. Put her on there, everybody knows who Florence is. She was on the Grammys a couple of months later. We put Adele on there, her single went to #1. We premiered an album from Lil Wayne that night. By a day or so, it had gone up to the top of the charts on iTunes, became a #1 album. So it's just an example of using your assets and to create new authority and leveraging social to get the message out.
Holmes just walked by.
There's an example of the video.
I'm obsessed with her daughter, Suri, and she got whisked away by security. Sorry, Katie. True story. But listen, on the Twitterverse, I am super excited because look at this. Hashtag what will Gaga wear is the #1 trending topic worldwide. We did it, you guys. High five to all of you. I want to check out my favorite tweet. Shizzy said, 30 chihuahuas, a lit candle, a dragon, and a fire breather. Okay. That would be something. I don't know if we can afford that at the VMAs. We've had almost 500,000 tweets since the pre-show began, so I'm very excited that you guys keep tweeting. And listen, I have to go backstage right now because I'm getting ready all throughout the main show. I'm going to be streaming live thanks to a Verizon live stream. You can check it out in the MTV News iPad app. James, who do you have over in your area?
So just an example of how we were integrating this. So again, we're not just talking about it, we're integrating it into the show, streaming. We have 10 different camera angles on an iPad, and we have a whole bunch of pre-show and post-show content on the web. That takes us to curation. So again, just to recap, authority, you need to have authority. Next piece, curation. Again, who has time to read 1,000 blogs every day? Who's out there assembling really the best of what's available for me? And if you look at the last 10 years, a lot of the energy in terms of online or digital or new platforms content has really been derived from technology advances. So basically people writing software. And algorithms started to evolve. So if you like this, you might like that. If you sequence the genome with Pandora, hey, if you like Led Zeppelin, you may like the Killers. So clearly that's an important piece of content discovery now. Crowd wisdom, oh, okay, another piece, right? So 22% of people who bought this coffee maker also like these filters. Again, a very important piece of content discovery, you know. 50% of my social network retweeted that article. But we think there's an important piece that has been missing from the puzzle. So we think that humans still play a role. And for all those humans in the audience, I think that's a good thing. You know, experts are kind of missing, and we think it's back to the Matt Pinfield idea of if you combine experts, crowd wisdom, and advances in algorithmic technology, we think you have the new engine of curation. So don't just tell me, you know, what Matt Pinfield likes. Tell me what Matt Pinfield likes, connected to what my social graph likes, connected to some algorithm that can weed out information because they know I don't like positive people. So we think that's the new wheel, and the new wheel is 1 part experts, 1 part crowd wisdom, and 1 part algorithm. And that's to do with curation. And just an example of how we're approaching it from a product's perspective. So we launched a product last year called MTV Music Meter. So you can get it on mtvmusicmeter.com, you can download it on iPad, you can get it on Android device. And actually, it's going to launch on Samsung connected TVs. So again, we're taking a very much platform agnostic, but platform aware approach. So the music meter, which is basically, and again, solves the puzzle, hopefully, of how do I find a new band or artist to listen to. So we go out, we've built a system that basically listens to all the social conversation, really accesses anything available from YouTube plays to Facebook likes to Tumblr posts, really whatever's available. And we assemble a daily list of 100 artists. But we lop off the top artists. We lop off Lady Gaga and Justin Bieber because we think you already know about them, and maybe Foster the People are a new artist that you might find. In fact, we had Foster the People on there about 6 months ago, and now it's on rotation in Sirius Hit Radio. So we think the machine is working. So again, but you can, if you're on your connected TV, you can get it. If you're sitting on a train with your iPhone, you can get it. And if you're at work, hopefully not, not too much at work, but you can check it out. You click on a card, you expand, you can sample a song, look at a video, listen to a new track. So that's an example of, again, combining some of the energy that's going into the curation process. Another example, which is where we bring the experts in, which is MTV Hive, which we've just launched. And again, I don't want this to be a pitch for MTV. I'm just giving you examples of what we're doing. This is a place where we bring the experts in, where we ask a bunch of experts who are there. For instance, Nirvana, Nevermind, just turned 20. Makes me feel old. But we wanted to give some context, and we wanted to curate some great information. And we took a bunch of writers from people who were there at MTV at the time, all the way to current pundits, and say, what did you think about this? So just ways that we're adding, we're sifting through the clutter, if you will, to try to bring our audience, specific curated pieces of content that provide context. And that gives me a good segue. So who hasn't felt awash in a meaningless sea of information? I think we all have. Hopefully this conference is not that for you guys, but this is a good example of getting experts up to give you all those things. But there's so much information available, and it gets to the point where it's bewildering. So we think context provides meaning to information. So just information on its own, which seems to be the current way of doing things. Hey, I have the information, I want to just push it out there. And everybody pushes the same piece. It's like, where's the context? What does it mean? Why do I care? What does it mean for me, my social graph, and what does it mean for a larger society? Everybody on the planet probably knew that Lady Gaga wore a meat dress to one of her award shows. But who really understood what that meant? Was it some statement about animal rights? Does she like steak? Is her uncle a butcher? I don't, so who knows these things? And we want to try to provide context. We want other people to provide context. No, you know what? Here's why that happened, and here's why it was meaningful, and here's why I should pay attention the next time. So again, context, a hugely important piece of our puzzle. Here's an example of how we do it. So Jay-Z and Kanye West brought out a new video, and again, typically someone would just take the video, put it on their server, or put it on their TV channel, and that's pretty much it. And you can interpret what you want from there. We tend to take a different approach because we do believe, again, information is commodity now. How do we provide some context, some experts, and some curation around it? So we premiered the video on TV like we always do. But again, it's not MTV of 25 years ago where we were the only place you could get the video. Now you can get the video pretty much anywhere. So we ran, I think, 40 articles on the way up to sort of talk about how did this collaboration happen, who directed the video, what was the idea of the concept we were going to put across. We pushed it out into social media, delivering back streams and attention around it. We put it on TV. We even had a performance at the VMAs post the video premiering, pretty much of the same song. So that was a way of kind of having a tail in, the event itself, and then a tail out. And we just think it's a good example of how we're approaching this world of don't just put the content out there, wrap it in value, and understand the different platforms it's going to. So just to recap, build authority, curate. If you take nothing away from this take that away and determine how it applies to what you do for a living. Again, curation, in the end, context. And I leave you with one quote. So we all agree the world is changing, and if you can do anything for your company, it's probably follow this. So it's not the strongest who survive. It's not even the most intelligent, but it's the ones most adaptable to change, as Darwin said. So thank you.
Dermot, that was fantastic. Unfortunately, we only have time for one question. We'll have Dermot run off over here if you guys want to come chase him down. But I just had one question. Having grown up on MTV, grown up on 120 Minutes, there seemed to be a real commitment to music. And then there was a period of a number of years where music seemed secondary. Are you using these kind of new digital channels as a way to kind of reassert leadership in the music space?
Absolutely, absolutely. We think it's a great example, and I think it's a good example of just continually looking at newer opportunities for your business and your brands, right? So we feel and felt that the next MTV hadn't come along for new platforms. You know, that sort of big tastemaker, that big brand that would say, hey, this is what you should be paying attention to. So we thought there was an opening. So we actually went after it, and that's where all these products have come from, that realization that there's a new way to extend the brand, to connect the audience, because what we've found is the people who listen to music also watch Jersey Shore. So we try to connect all the dots around the puzzle. But yeah, we're committed. We actually have a new event called OMMA, not OMMA, which was confusing to me a little bit. But it's Online Music Awards, or the O Music Awards, and it's just a way of saying, hey, we think that the curation, authority, context circle, we're not just talking about it, we're actually putting it into effect. Not all of the things we'll do will work, and some of them will. But I think we're putting our money where our mouth is. So,
Dermot, thank you so much.
Thanks.